All right. Hello, everyone. My name is LordFluffy, and this is Super Mario and the Cursed Castles. This is a ROM hack of Super Mario 64. You might know it's a big popular speed game. It is a full 121-star hack. There's a whole bunch of content here. I'm going to be running the 76-star category, which is effectively the equivalent of 70-star in vanilla SM64. So, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and just introduce my commentators here.
Looks like we're good now. They fixed it.
So, first up, if you guys want to introduce yourselves and go ahead. Oh, whoopsies. Okay, I realized my problem here.
I think it was. They said it was their problem, so it's all good.
Okay, so anything, you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves, commentators. Sorry.
Yeah, hey, I'm Sean Rader. I've streamed this game quite a lot. I held world record for a little while and came up with a lot of the strats that you're going to see here. So, with Okami, actually, who's my co-commentator.
Hey guys, how's it going? Okami here. Can confirm Sean and I did a lot of the preliminary routing after a couple of the guys had started to run the game.
Me being one of them. All right, so we'll be good to go in just a second here. So if you're ready to do the countdown, I am. I will say so. So countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go.
All right, so coming up right in the start is the most important trick in the game. Let's see if we get it here. We hit the wall. Okay.
Oh no.
So there is an invisible wall that'll just sometimes stop you right at the start of the game there. Very unfortunately, I did hit it, and also I missed my rollout timing, so that's unfortunate. But basically, Mario 64 and the Cursed Castles is made by Foxen, a friend of mine. He spent 2 years developing this game, and it is one of my favorite ROM hacks of all time. Of all the other ones out there, stuff like Star Road and Last Impact, this is the one I definitely had the most affinity for speedrunning for. I just realized I have my level reset code still active, so I'll have to turn that off during the next star here. No worries there. Doesn't really affect anything, not actually cheating. But if you're not familiar with how SM64 movement works, my good buddies here can help you out and learn you through real quick.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on for anyone who isn't really familiar with SM64 movement. Like, Mario's movement options are notoriously vast in this game. So you're seeing him do a lot of long jumps and dives, which are the fastest ways to get around. The kind of walking on the ground is actually really slow. You pretty much always either want to be diving or long jumping to get around. And then for high jumps, and so you can see here, he's doing some long jumps to get over the gap, and then he's doing some jump dives, which are actually the fastest way to get around. But mostly you just want to chain together the thing that makes the most sense in the given constraints. You'll see a side flip here, which is the highest way to get around, or the highest instant jump that you can do, and then a wall kick to get over to the star. So lots of different things. Of course, you're probably pretty familiar with Mario's movement in a lot of other games as well, so pretty similar to a lot of other 3D Marios, but the momentum in this game is what makes this game so unique. It's just a lot of chain together things that'll give you speed, moving around the map really quick.
Very much so, and there's going to be a lot of instances where if you don't have enough momentum, you won't actually be able to clear the gaps that you need to in order to get over to different parts of the map.
Yes, certain jumps go higher the more speed you have, actually.
Oof.
Yeah, these two stars in this stage are quite tricky.
Yeah, that is one of the harder stars for sure, so.
Alright, so unfortunately that timer that's on the screen is going to stay there until I get to the, about a quarter of the way through the run, so apologies for that. I can't really do anything about it since I forgot to turn off my timer. Doesn't really affect anything. As I said, I'm not cheating in any capacity. It's just a timer, so.
It's all good. The showcase shouldn't be affected in any way. All the movement stays the exact same, obviously. This one's a really cool strat. Like I said earlier, there were kind of phases with this game in terms of just the storyline of us running this. There were the first few people who picked it up when it first came out. Fluffy was one of them, and Celetix was the world record holder. They kind of paved the way initially for all of the star routing. They came up with pretty much what they thought were the fastest stars, and for the most part, they were actually pretty correct. A lot of the stars that they were doing were already the fastest. So when Okami and I arrived on the scene, like half a year later or so, we already had a pretty good baseline to work with, and we ended up spending about a month or so just routing out the game, figuring out exactly what stars we wanted to remove or add. And from there, we came up with the route, mostly the route that you're seeing from Fluffy here, which is the route that a lot of people use nowadays and have used to beat both of us as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of exceptions to that. A lot of what I'm doing, failing these wall kicks here. A lot of what I'm doing is very based on my old route that I figured out before these guys came onto the game scene. But I have incorporated a lot of what they figured out as well, because these guys are just better at Mario 64 than me, so happy to have them here on commentary.
Yeah, there's a huge ROM hacking community out there, ROM hack runner community out there. Very, very passionate guys. A lot of them actually, it's kind of hard to say, but a lot of them are actually arguably better than a lot of their regular Mario 64 counterparts. They're super, super good. Most notably, the world record holder in this category right now is Sigotu, who's a keyboard player. So very, very different from a lot of regular vanilla runners that you'd see. He uses a keyboard WASD, and he crushed us in this game. Okami and I are a little bit more focused on like the vanilla side of things, just the regular Mario 64. But we've dabbled in ROM hacks, and this is probably the one that we've put the most time into.
Yeah, definitely. But these guys, they come over to the game and they just destroy the category. They put in a lot of work, they do some strat finding of their own, and they really show us what's up.
All right, so far so good with the run going on here. So we didn't really get into it. The first stage that you were looking at was actually called Line Clear Frontier. If you noticed, it was very Tetris inspired, but this one's called Sunken Sandstrand. And for the most part, this one has like fairly cool strats and everything that you can use. Nice, I nailed that one. That's a very hard set of movement right there. To be able to clear that gap without taking any lava boost damage. So I feel really good to have gotten that at least once here.
Yeah, I think we fondly called that the Okami slide for a while because he came up with that one.
Something else I wanted to talk to as well about this. You guys might already be able to tell that if you have any experience with ROM hacks, a lot of the ROM hacks tend to borrow music from other games, especially ones in like the Mario series or the Sonic series or the Zelda series. And so they often have really, really iconic music that isn't really designed for the game per se. But this ROM hack in particular has a very, very unique situation where Foxen, the creator, commissioned somebody to make all of the music for this game.
And speak of the devil, welcome Foxen to the chat.
Yeah, so
creator of this game.
Shoutouts to Foxen, big time. This is one of my favorite hacks, and he's just an incredibly fun dude. I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for making this game. Big time. But okay, so we're gonna get this star here, and we're gonna come up to the last star here that I'm gonna be getting here in Sunken Sandstrand, and this one is the scariest one by far. If there's ever a reset star, this is it coming up. So
yeah, this is really go for it.
This stage in general kind of encapsulates one of the kind of main design choices that Foxen made in this game, which is to make some really, really wide open levels, very sandboxy. Kind of similar to Bob on Battlefield in the original game. It's massive, and some of these stars are about climbing up huge pillars that, if you fall down, can be kind of more punishing than a lot of other regular, more standard SM64 levels.
Oh, but thankfully I got up there no problem. So, whew.
That was really nice.
Well done.
All right, so we're moving on now to Port Obella, one of my favorite, like, visually appealing stages in the game. And you get everything except the 100 coin star here, so a lot of these strats aren't necessarily too interesting, so if you guys have any donations right now, this would definitely be a good time to read them while I go for some of the less interesting stars.
All right. Well, we do have a $50 donation from Mega Savas, who says trans rights.
Yeah, let's go.
And also, just as a heads up, we do still have that perfect run incentive for the next run, Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is currently at... Here, let me refresh this real quick. Currently sitting at 732.50 out of 1,000. So, just about a quarter of that donation left to go.
All right, so that was the red coin star. It's just generally one of the more uninteresting ones overall. It's like it's a fast star, but all the red coins are just kind of in a line, so you go across the line, fairly well done. But I'm going to be doing a star, like after this next one, I'm going to be doing a star that Okami can talk about, because it used to be a star that took a little bit of time, and it was the intended strat. But eventually, it was a strat was found that turned it from like a 20-second star plus into like a 7-second star. It was ridiculous.
Exactly. It's one of those stars where, as a casual player, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, I have to go up these platforms, go all the way around, avoid some enemies, and then finally make it to the star. And some of the ROM hack players came around and they basically showed off this wall kick strat. Tiny little wall platforms that your wall geometry that you can wall kick off of. And it turns the star into a very, very quick 7-second star.
Yeah, you'll see it. I think we're doing it right now, right?
Yep.
Let's see if we can get the wall kicks.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
Okay, so that was really clean.
It's a kind of common trend, actually, throughout a lot of this game, where basically we thought we had to like do a bunch of platforming and go all the way up the long way. It happens in so one of the Gloomstream Grove later on, and some other places. I think Burburo, where we thought we had to kind of just climb up the buildings or climb up the pillars the regular way, but it ended up being that you can just wall jump between walls. Some people are more creative than we are, especially when it comes to ROM hacks, and they figured that stuff out.
I felt really good about that star, by the way. That felt incredibly good.
Well done, man. Yeah.
It looked really
This
good.
is looking like a really good one so far, actually.
Yeah, I'm not timing, so I wouldn't know how good it is, but it feels pretty good on a decent pace right now.
Yeah, we speedrunners rely on our deltas too much. We can't. If I look at 1050 right now, I have no idea what that means.
That's very true.
Oop. Still have to jump there. Let's see if I still get this. Nope. Hit the wrong wall. Rip. I still can get. Oh, come on. No. Alright, and then. Boop, boop, boop. Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the unique things about some of these strats as well, is that there's a lot of these platforms that you go and platform around, and I know that both Sean and I have spent lots and lots of hours trying to grind out a particular movement, only to find out that there's a different movement that beats it by like 10 or 20 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. That's really the pain of spending hours and hours grinding out strats, is you really want to hold on to a strat you've practiced a lot, but then once somebody comes forward and says, hey, I think this is like 2 seconds faster, all of a sudden you have to relearn something completely different. We definitely take for granted like how easy it is to learn a game that's already been routed for us, but when we came into this game, the world record was 114, I think, and over the course of the next couple months, we got it down to, I think, around a 58 or something like that.
Yeah, I think the world record for Segotu is like a 56 now. It's like really ridiculous.
Yeah. Some of the ROM hack boys came in and just absolutely decimated us, but we held that. Okami and I held the number 1 and 2 position for a good couple months, I think, before Segotu really came in and showed how weak we were.
Alright, so this is diapilated docks. I don't actually know how to pronounce that word properly, but there's actually a funny story to this level if somebody wants to explain this one, actually.
Well, I believe it was was it the first level that Foxen created?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was created in some sort of other tool that's not Blender.
Yeah, so it took me a second, I forgot about this, but yeah, the K's originally one of the like god modders of this game, originally made a ROM hack called Super Mario 64 Maker, and I'm sure pretty much all of you know what Super Mario Maker is. It's a similar concept. It was just 3D Mario Maker in Mario 64. And I think Foxen, the first level that he created was this level in that game, and then took that and started building upon it and started making the game. Foxen can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think that was mostly the story.
Yeah, this stage is probably one of the scarier early levels. A good thing I was aware that I had to back that up. Just because, because of the verticality of a lot of stars in this game, you can get punished very heavily for making movement mistakes, but this stage is especially so, because you're going straight into lava if you fall down on, any of these places.
Definitely, and there's no room to go anywhere else either. So when you fall on some of these stars, it's pretty much just waiting for yourself to boost up and down 3 times until you die.
So I'm just gonna get the scariest star out of the way here now that I'm thinking about it. For whatever reason, moving on this star is just the scariest thing for me. It's like, the movement itself, if you take it slow, is not actually that bad. But because it's a speed run, you want to kind of go fast, so I'm taking it slow because I'm scared, but you would not believe how many times I've done this star in a speed run only to die on it 3 times because I didn't stop for half a second to reset my angle.
And
Very much so.
in the same vein of the shout out from Foxen, shout outs to Technomancer in chat, who actually composed all of the music in this game, every single track. And like we said earlier, we're not just talking about running regular regular Mario tracks through a sound font. We're talking actually completely original music. So shout outs to Techno.
Yeah, I think the only non-original piece in this game is the song on Line Clear Frontier, and that's just a remix of a Tetris theme. So he did an incredible job with the soundtrack in this game. Shout outs to Technomancer.
Yeah, a lot of the music is so incredible in this.
Alright, so most of the hard stuff is out of the way here. Thankfully, it looks like we're going to get past this stage with minimal to no issues. Next up is one of the few instances, actually, where lava boosting is helpful in this stage, and by the few, I mean the one instance. This little dock over here is actually just the perfect height to be able to jump up with a lava boost. So the quickest way to get this star is actually to avoid all the intended platforming and just ride the shell on over and break it, so wonderfully avoiding the intended path.
Some of these strats I was actually curious. I don't think I ever got to ask you. Some of these strats are really genius. We take for granted how smart some of the original initial strats that you guys came up with for the game were. Was that mostly Soletics, or did you come up with some of that stuff?
It was kind of a mix of both. Solex and I didn't always communicate with what we were doing, but sometimes we would hop into each other's streams, see what the other one was doing, and find, oh, that's a crazy strat, and then the other one would find a better strat for it. But for the most part, what we figured out was either just all on our own or just sort of brainstorming off of watching each other's streams, so. Alright.
That's sick. Yeah, because some of this stuff is really smart, especially that lava boost thing. I know it would have taken us a while to figure out what you could just shell over there.
Yeah, there were a couple strats I know, they're kind of a spoiler thing, I guess, but there's a Discord related to this game. And some people would post their clips of them doing single stars, and sometimes they'd be doing ridiculous strats, but specifically that lava boost one I believe I saw from a clip in the in that Discord, so thank you to whoever that was around a year ago.
That's definitely one of the unique things about each of the stars in SM64 in general being so segmented. You have these crazy strats that are single star only, and they're just super intense 10-second little clips, and you would never think of doing them in a run. But then some runner comes around and gets really consistent, or finds a really consistent setup or something like that, and the whole community adopts it.
Yeah, definitely. It's also, we kind of didn't talk about the stage coming in, but personally, this is actually my favorite stage. I think this stage is super, super sick. Just kind of the right amount of things going on. Like there's not a lot of empty space, and some of the strats you can do in this stage in terms of climbing and everything. Like this star might be one of my favorite in the entire game, honestly.
Yeah, I love
Really,
the
really
platforming
cool.
on this star myself. I'm a big fan, big fan. There's a lot of really cool wall kicks and triple jump strats for this. And that's something to mention as well. When Foxen was designing this game, he wanted it to be like as on par with vanilla difficulty SM64 as he could, and for the most part, he did nail that pretty well. There's a couple things I'd say are a little bit harder than vanilla difficulty, but for the most part, his goal to nail that worked perfectly. So.
Yeah, Okami and I actually have done a few other ROM hacks, speed runs in the past. Okami and I both done Star Road. Okami did some another Mario Adventure, which is another more recent one. And these games are kind of meant to be kind of more not necessarily speedrun focused, but more they intend for you to have a good knowledge of this game already and a good played through the entirety of SM64. This game, yeah, like Fluffy said, it is much more made for like accessibility and ease of low skill floor, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that like drew me to it right away in terms of speedrunning it. Is like I wasn't expected to suddenly know like this triple jump wall dive thing in order to like get to the base level of speedrunning it, right? So it made it very appealing to start off with very simple strats, and over time, as I got better at playing the hack, I could implement the harder and harder strats, which, in my opinion, is one of the best ways. Is what makes one of the best like speed games out there, is having a variety of like beginner-friendly strats and those high-level advanced strats that take you a while to get used to.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the ROM hacks that are out and are popular have those tricks in them that even at a casual level, you're basically forced to do those tricks. And this doesn't really have that for the most part.
Yeah, and you'd think that might make it a little bit more boring as a speed game. Oh.
I didn't have the right angle,
Oh.
unfortunately. That sucks.
Darn, yeah. Basically, the other thing that we should talk about now that we've already gone over like general Mario mechanics is in normal Mario 64, like vanilla, there's the camera is kind of variable. Like it acts different in different stages. It's a little bit hard to predict. In this, it's using a hack kind of that was developed for a lot of ROM hacks, or something that started being incorporated in a lot of ROM hacks called parallel cam. And parallel cam pretty much is always on this kind of 8-axis, or this 8-way axis, where you'll see like whenever he does a camera change, it moves about an eighth of 360 degrees, I guess. And so basically that makes setups pretty much like always consistent, because you know exactly what way your camera is going to be facing, instead of it kind of like swerving and dive and like trying to face forward on Mario like it does in vanilla. So generally, that's really good, but there are some weird cases where walls, if you hold directly forward, you can't actually wall kick off them, and that was one of those. That was just an awkward wall.
So something I'd like to talk about going into this stage, if you don't mind, unless you have something, Fluffy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about the keys. Yeah. So this is a unique case in this hack in particular. So as you guys have been seeing, all the stars that have been grabbed have just been typical stars. With this particular stage, and in all of the stages that have bosses in them, which in this game is King Boo and not Bowser, it's a cursed feeling kind of thing. Each of the keys that you get from King Boo count as a star. And so in terms of star requirements, those count towards that star requirement that you have. So for example, with the 75 star door requirement that you have later in the game, you are getting one key, so you're actually only getting 74 stars.
Yep. It's also worth mentioning before the level's over that this is probably one of the hardest stages in the entire game. This is probably one of my biggest run killers.
Yeah, so when I was initially routing this game, I wanted to avoid doing the red coins on these stages, just because they're very long stages, and the red coins on them are also very spread out. Like, as you can see, I'm having to go very out of my way for all these red coins, but unfortunately, since you're well, at least unfortunately in my opinion, since you're spending all the time in the first place to go through these stages to begin with, it's actually very fast to grab the red coin star in this stage as well, so unfortunate for me. Luckily, though, I made the decision early on when I was doing my initial routing to say, I don't like you 100 coin stars, please do not be in this run. And thankfully, as Okami and Sean also found out, there's like 100 coin star in this run that's like even somewhat worth it, and even then it's not even necessarily worth it to put in the run.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that, you know, for anyone who doesn't know Mario 64 that well, 100 coin stars are kind of a staple of a lot of ROM hacks and, you know, the vanilla game itself, where because of how 100 coin stars work, you collect the 100 coins, a star pops out, and then you grab it. But unlike most other stars, you don't actually get warped out of the level. So it makes it pretty fast because you don't have to deal with leaving the level. You can just grab another star right away. But because of how big the stages are in this game and just the kind of the design philosophy in general, the 100 coin stars just don't make it in. They just don't make the cut.
So I want to quickly talk about this particular sequence that's going to happen right here. Fluffy is going to be save and quitting out of this instead of jumping back into the pipe and exiting course, because jumping back into the pipe and exiting course there is a little bit tricky with the camera. The camera kind of is a little bit finicky, and so getting a proper angle into the pipe is tricky. And timing it, the save and quit ends up breaking about even with a perfect pipe entry.
Yeah, so it's just a lot safer to... it's just a lot safer as a strat to do a save and quit there. It's only for that one, though. The save and quit on the second time you'd want to do it is not faster than the entering the stage. But here we are in Cursebound Chasm. Now, this stage has a lot of, you know, different paths and routes that you can take. But the funny thing is, we get 4 stars here. 3 of them start off the exact same way. So... just ends up being that this one piece of platforming that you can do is incredibly fast for 3 different stars here. So
this stage ended up being one of the stages that we rerouted the most. Like,
yeah,
this stage is not obvious where you go. There's a lot of very winding paths. There's a lot of stars that just barely make the cut.
Nice.
I think there were more than 1 star here that we found out was good that they didn't realize was, and then I think we even routed out some. Like there were some weirdnesses here that we definitely had to spend hours and hours like routing and timing to figure out.
Yeah, there are definitely two stars in particular that I'm thinking of that are very very viable, but you wouldn't see that right away. One of the stars is going to be done pretty soon. I think Fluffy's going for it right now, which is the red coin star. This geometry right here is super tricky to navigate without having routed it before. And so if you just go in blind, you would initially think, okay, yeah, this is a pretty slow star.
Yeah, in reality, if you nail this star is like way faster than we thought. It's easily makes the cut for sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
Unfortunately, having a little bit of issue with movement here, but there are very small platforms I have to work with there, so sometimes that star can go incredibly fast, and other times, like, just the small platforms, one tiny movement mistake is all it takes to mess that up, unfortunately.
100%. This stage is 100% a run killer, not just for the ability to die, but also for the ability to fall all the way down, but also just for the ability to have a lot of movement flubs in those weird sections.
So this is a piece of geometry that's actually like really well done with the parallel cam. Like, if you just keep your camera like this the whole time, you don't have to alter it at all when it comes to these like wall kicks that I'm doing here. So you can just do that like perfectly, basically, and at no point in time do you need to change the camera at all, because just doing perfect left, perfect right movements, it'll all line up perfectly. So very well put together with the parallel cam in this stage.
Yeah, and he makes that sound easy when he explains it like that, but that is not an easy star, so well done there.
Alright, coming up on the last one here, this is probably the hardest one that I do, and it involves a very tricky input when it comes to long jumps here, so let's see if I can't get this here. Just gotta set this up. Gotta set that up a little. Okay, let's try that again. Nope, unfortunate. Alright.
Yeah,
Hopefully
super tricky long jump there. It's requires
Really
a lot of
hard.
speed that you don't have room to get to build up.
Yeah, luckily I got the backup, so I didn't lose a too large amount of time, and then I fell down anyway. So, yay on that.
Yeah, this star precisely, and another star where you have to do this. I think. Do you do both of them in this route? I forget.
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, there are in the optimal route, I guess, like the non-marathon safe route, as you can see. There you would do this strat twice, this long jump, and this is
dude.
exactly why I said that you know this is a run killer.
Definitely.
Oh man,
And the
Yeah,
funny thing is
it's brutal.
that star that you're alluding to, Sean, the one that is done in the world record route, is I think Sugodu does it, but it's a 36-second star. It has these wall kicks, which are really rough to begin with, and then on top of that, it also has chasms that you can fall into and die, even after you get this hard long jump.
Okay, I'm not really getting this here. I'm just gonna wing this setup instead. Alright, that works. Alright, cool. Just giving me the Okami strat there.
Yeah, that's the one that we both use for sure. And while long jumping is actually like long jumping to build up speed and then kind of, letting it go is actually a ROM hacker kind of specialty. The ability to kind of get your long jump on the very edge is kind of way harder. Like if you just run forward, it's way easier to get close to the edge there.
So, permafrost. We're going to be coming up in a second on one of the other hard stars. I would say it's possibly one of the top 5 hardest stars in the run.
Absolutely, yeah.
It requires a pretty precise double lava boost, and if you are not getting that lava boost at the very edge, then you're going to be taking 3 lava boosts. And as you guys know, with 8 health bars and 3 per burn, you're not going to be able to make it.
As a quick reminder, the timer I do have in the top right below the star counter is just a leftover of me using practice tools. It does not affect the run in any way, and I have just not had time to remove it, so...
Yeah.
It is
usually use Game Shark codes to practice these games, and when you turn them off, pretty much everything just goes off immediately, except for the timer, because any like kind of changes to the HUD just kind of stay there until you reset the entire emulator. So, unfortunately, it will be there, but it doesn't really change anything.
Alright, so we're coming up on the hard star now. It's very possible I could die a few times here, so we'll see how it goes.
So this star is basically, it requires a pretty specific movement setup that, like I said earlier, and this is one of the biggest things in this game, is that if you're running on the ground just regularly at any time, you're losing a lot of speed. So you want to be pretty much in the air at all times, and he's got to make sure he minimizes ground movement.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was a little bit early on my setup there, so...
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Take a def on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, the reason right there for that is basically if you look at the speed counter in this game, when he's doing jump dives, his speed is at about 50 units of measurement, whereas when he's walking, it goes down to 30 almost immediately. So he wants to spend minimal time walking here, right after that dive. So yeah, he'll have to reset that.
There we go, got it that time.
Go.
There you go.
That's
so you
such
see
a hard
right
trick.
as he ended his dive there, he immediately long jumped, kept keeping all that speed that he had stored.
So there's a little thing with shell movement in Mario 64. Your speed is capped while you're sliding along the ground, but if you jump in the air, your speed actually can go a little bit faster. So if you can create straight lines while on the shell, you'll actually speed up your movement throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and that's one of the weirdest things as well about shell movement is that if you're not frame perfect with it, you're going to be still gaining that extra little speed every single time you jump, but it'll get reset back down to that cap. If you get it frame perfectly though, if you hit it just on that single frame every single time, jump, 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 you're actually going to be gaining speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty much uncapped from what I understand, right? You can do it pretty much endlessly.
If you do it frame
endless strap.
perfectly, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright, so coming up here is Burr Burrows. This is definitely where, like, a relic of the old route is still in. Basically, there's this star called Scale the Scaffolding. I will be doing, I think, second here. That is basically a really long star because you're supposed to do a whole bunch of platforming here, but combining with one trick to get one star and then using a fly guy, we can actually get over to that area way sooner than intended, and basically get the star in about a minute, which made it worth it in my initial routing. But that's the wall kicks I was talking about, and those are not as easy as they look. Let me tell you something. One missed input, it's over. Go ahead.
There is one funny thing about Scale the Scaffolding in particular as well, is that the route that Fluffy is going to be doing is a much safer and marathon-friendly route, and is realistically the route that I think both Sean and I would do if we were to include this in the run, or if we were to do a full completion run. But the top runners use this very, very specific trick with something that's really iconic in SM64, a backwards long jump, where you use that along with the snow physics to gain massive, massive height, and it turns the star from this long star into roughly a, I think, 15 to 20 second star.
Oh no. Come on,
That
bud.
was really, really well backed up there. He missed a wall kick ledge grab and ended up saving it. Really, really well done.
Yeah, but the shotgun.
Oh, this
Shotgun.
guy's not gonna be nice.
Okay.
Alright, there he goes. Now he's over to a reasonable location. There we go. Okay, finally I can do it now.
The other thing to mention is that on a lot of these stars in this level, you're going to notice that he's doing a bunch of wall kicks because there's just so many buildings next to each other. Wall kicks are something I should elaborate on. You're probably used to regular, typical 3D Marios where if you, run into a wall, Mario will slide down, giving you like all the time in the world to wall kick or to wall jump, I guess, in those games. In this game, I guess the differentiating factor is that these are called wall kicks, and they function pretty differently. So when you hit a wall, you have 5 frames, 1/6 of a second to press A again to jump. And if you don't press it within those 5 frames, then you just can't wall jump. You just fall down from the wall, you bonk, and you end up, way at the bottom. So wall kicks in this game are pretty much necessary to learn and get down, and are way harder than they look. Is the Marcus star in the speedrunning route? What is the Marcus star?
They're referring to Mount Marcas in Celestial Citadel.
Yeah. So I can actually talk to that. I've done a lot
Oh,
of timing
yeah.
on that. That star is one of the ones that's like just barely... It's very iffy on whether it's viable or not. I think with absolutely perfect movement, it could potentially still be viable, but I know that none of the 3 of us use it. I don't believe the world record uses it either.
Yeah, it's just barely on the edge of viability. If we found like a little bit better movement in some area, for example, like you could theoretically replace a couple stars with it in this route, but it's just barely not there, unfortunately.
It's also, worth mentioning that Okami in this call is pretty much the only one who's actually experimented with the 100% route of this game, 121 star. And that's where you do all the 100 coin stars, which take a long time, and all the longer stars. So Okami is a wealth of knowledge for like what stars barely don't make it in and which ones, what the timings are for those ones.
Alright, so we're done with Burr Burrows now. We're going to move on to Celestial Citadel. That didn't quite go as well as I wanted it to, but that's just how it goes. No real major time losses across the board except for Shy Guy, but we're going into Skyward Sanctuary here. There's 5 stars here, and at the beginning when I was routing this, these all had very similar routes. Like, you'd go the same way for 2 stars, and then similar general movement across the board, but thanks to some strats found by these guys, there's definitely a lot of different ways now to go about doing these stars, and this one I'm coming up to here is a situation where these wall kicks that I'm doing, 100% not intended, but the angle of them is very tight. At any given period of time, I could hit the wrong part of that wall and my angle would fly off to a completely different direction, and I would not be able to continue upward to this star. So that went really well. So
That
very
was
happy with
incredibly
that.
clean.
Definitely. And like I said, the wall kicks are not as easy as they look. 5 frames, 1/6 of a second for each one.
Alright, so next up is going to be one of the longer ones. There isn't anything super interesting on this star, so if you have a donation, you can probably read that out here.
Okay, so we've got a $50 donation from Maeve saying, "Let's get that perfect run incentive. Great event for a great cause. Shout out to the runners, tech, hosts, and everyone making this possible." And then we've got a $50 donation from Fourth Strongest saying, "Gay rights, trans rights, Black Lives Matter." These are all statements I agree with.
Me too. Alright, so a very common theme, as we've mentioned, is the thirdicality, but also the like spiral around the around like central pillars as well. And a lot of them have a very similar theme of spiraling around a central pillar, but the platforms are all so different that the way you get up them is often very different as well. So this stage has a lot of unique stars as a result of that.
Yeah, I specifically remember a lot of time spent routing this stage because there's so many winding paths and different ways you can go. There's, a lot of optimization was made here.
Alright, so 2 more stars after this. One of which is going to incorporate a strat that I learned only yesterday, thanks to these guys sitting in with me. But it's a really cool strat. And I'll go ahead and get that one out of the way, so if y'all want to explain that one real quick.
I love that strat. It's a very quick star. It's probably a 14-second star or so, but the geometry works out just right so that you can get some triple jumps up there. You can get some different kinds of movement up there. But then the last piece, you can get this nice little wall kick that just leads you. It allows you to skip all of the blocks leading up to that section. Nice, and they hit it. Let's go.
Yeah, super nice. So many cool strats in this stage, actually.
Alright, coming up is the last one here that I'm not as familiar with how to do, but we'll see if I can nail it first try. I gave it a little bit of practice before the run. So ideally... Go ahead.
Another big shout out to Foxen. Like, these levels are beautiful, as we've said. Like, this is not a standard thing for Mario 64 ROM hacks. Like, Mario 64 ROM hacks, a lot of them just they use kind of standard textures or whatever, but this hack looks beautiful.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
So this will be the last star here, basically, and we'll move on to Gloom Shroom Grove, which is going to have probably one of the biggest overall time save stars in the run from when the game was initially routed, because as mentioned before, a lot of these stars you think, oh, I have to do them the intended way, but I'll just do the platforming the best, but then somebody somewhere goes and finds it's just one perfect position where you can just make it work perfectly.
Yeah, I feel like this star is really the iconic one that has this.
Are we doing it right off the bat?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. Let's fucking... Oh, I did it. Let's go, dude.
That's our one allotted one for the run.
All right, one more on my bad. Anyway, that is a lot of wall kicks, and that one is harder than some of the other ones because you do also have to move yourself slightly to the right when you do it. Otherwise, you'll eventually... Because you're on a very slight angle while you're doing those wall kicks, so eventually you'll do a wall kick and you'll end up on an angle that you just will not be able to wall kick on, and you'll fall all the way down. So that one feels incredibly good to land in a marathon setting first try.
And it's definitely one of those exact cases where the star was probably about 40 seconds long. Sean and I routed it like crazy, and we're like, okay, cool. We brought it down under 30 seconds, and then nope, the star could be done in under 15 seconds.
Yeah, it had to take one of those crazy ROM hacker minds to show us we were dumb. I don't remember exactly who came up with the idea, but I think were randomly just browsing like random 121 star runs, and then we saw that.
Yep.
I think it was like I Love Baseball or something like that who came up with that.
Something like that. And that's one of the things as well that's funny about these is that a lot of times the ROM hack players will stick to their category. Some people really like the intended star count categories, like this one, and some people like the 100% ones. And so sometimes 100% runs will have strats in them that are useful for those intended star count categories that you would never see in any of the normal runs for those ISCs.
Yeah, that's actually really worth expanding upon too. The different categories in Mario 64 are named kind of weirdly, probably to what you guys are used to. You know, we've got 0 star, 1 star, 16 star, 70 star, 120 star. And these were all kind of made when new strats were figured out to beat the game in decreasing amounts of stars. 70 star in vanilla was the original any percent, because that's what people thought you needed to beat the game. And because that was such a long period where people were doing 70 star, when people came up with 16 star, people wanted to keep doing 70 star, right? So that it ended up kind of becoming a pseudo no major glitches kind of category. And that's exactly what this is. Like, you can actually beat this game with 0 stars in about 2.5 minutes, but the ISC category, or intended star count category, is just like no skipping, major barriers. You have to get the required amount of stars to go into the different areas. So that makes 0 star, 76 star, and 121 stars the three kind of categories for this game.
And really quickly, sorry to cut you off if anything, but speaking of no major skips, this particular skip that Fluffy is about to do does not count as a major skip, but we are in fact going to be skipping King Boo 2.
Yeah, and actually, that's an interesting one for Foxton in the chat. I'm assuming you meant that this was possible, or you meant for this to be possible, skipping the second boss. So we're going to see here that Fluffy is going to go around the castle and actually head in the back door, which skips an entire boss fight and skips an entire key. This is intended, of course, yeah.
What's really funny as well... Oh, go for it.
Yeah, so, okay, that's never happened before. All right, cool, awesome. Anyway, so as we previously mentioned before, the King Boo stages take a lot of time. So the fact that there was a way to be able to skip at least one of the King Boos is incredibly good for this run, because you would have to spend your time like 2.5 to 3 minutes plus in that stage getting 2 stars, and that is very slow for 76 star category purposes.
Right, and there's also not even a toad in that room, so you don't even have that extra routing benefit of collecting a 2nd or 3rd star while collecting the key. Something else I was going to say as well that's kind of interesting is that especially in the early days when we were constantly taking deaths to different kinds of strats and things like that, this final castle, this pink castle right here, was one of the trickiest ones, because if you game over in this castle, you don't have the key. You don't have the ability to go back in the normal way. You have to go up and over all the way around and then come back in the back. So getting a game over here is pretty punishing.
Definitely. Also, definitely worth mentioning now, that was probably one of the easier stars in this stage. This stage gets progressively harder. This is actually probably, if I had to say, probably the 2nd hardest stage in the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very
hits.
unique. Yeah, and there are a lot of skips you can do, and a lot of really, really tight movement that you can do in order to save a couple of frames or seconds here and there.
Okay, jeez. This stage scares me, so I'm more or less just sitting down and focusing and letting Sean and Okami handle the commentary here, because this is the biggest reset point for me in all of this entire run. I don't think I've had a PB in my last like 5 PBs that hasn't died on this stage at least once. So we've already met that quota, so hopefully there's no more.
And you could see there that he did a lot of, they did a lot of triple jumps kind of and double jumps to get up there. There are some routes that literally just do dives and long jumps over to those platforms, and they are almost pixel perfect. So it's this stuff. This stage gets absolutely crazy if you start doing the advanced strats like the ROM hack runners that we were talking about, like Sagotu do. And this game, if people played it longer, this game could get really, really optimized.
Yeah,
We'll probably see that at some point.
Yeah, that star that I just did is definitely my favorite one. Like, my favorite individual star in the game. It is such a unique concept to use the mirror to know where you have to go. And, wow, was I very happy to do that star for the first time. Big shout-outs to Foxen for making that one work.
I'm a bad commentator for not mentioning that one, but that's one of the coolest stars in the game for sure.
There are actually a lot of unique ones here. Like, people often say that this hack has a lot of platforming and whatnot in it, and not very many gimmicks, but this, having things like those unique mirrors are really cool on this stage, and there's also a star that we don't do in the run, but it's going into the paintings, which you can kind of see those little boo paintings, and each of those has a secret in them.
Alright, not to try and cut off commentary here, but I just want to focus up for this one, because this is the one I hate the most, so...
For good reason.
Can't say I blame you.
I want to make sure I get this one down and done and move on.
A bunch of tiny little platforms that you're working with.
Yeah, there are some crazy things you can do in this level too, but you never want to do them in a marathon.
Okay.
Still some pretty clean movement though, definitely.
Ooh, I took it very, very carefully, but I did it. And that's it, we're done with Macabre Manor. But unfortunately, we're going from the second hardest stage in the game to arguably the hardest, so...
I actually forgot that they were back to back, not gonna lie. Dang. Alright, Lazulite Lava Lair is actually the nightmare of anyone who's ever run this game. Even the top runners that we've talked about that are, they're crazy, established ROM hack runners, in pretty much any time we've ever talked to them, they say they absolutely hate the stage.
I don't think a single person goes into the stage and says, oh yeah, okay, Lazulite, finally, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's a really unique stage, but it's definitely a very tricky stage from a speedrun perspective.
Yeah, we'll start off with the easiest star here, which is just a bit of simple platforming up at these little platforms here. And we go on top of this little throne with a couple wall kicks here, and boom. Definitely the easiest star in the stage. You'd think if every star was like that, we wouldn't be saying this, but not every star is like that. This entire stage is scary, and that's actually in part because the lava in the stage actually rises and falls as if you'd see something from like a later Mario game like Sunshine or Galaxy. Now, when this lava was programmed, it ended up going really fast, which is part of the reason why it makes this stage so difficult. But unfortunately, when it was being programmed, basically what was said, and I did ask Foxen about this beforehand, more or less, when it was being made, the designer could not figure out how to make it go at more than 2 speeds. It was either the current speed, which is in the game, which is ridiculously fast, or so slow that it was basically irrelevant.
Yeah. The rising and falling lava makes particularly one star in this stage absolutely impossible especially for casual players too, because there's no easy way to do it. Even if you take it the absolute slowest you can possibly do it, it's still insanely hard. It's like every other star in this hack is like, even the hardest other star in this entire hack is like half the difficulty casually. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a stage at the very end if you complete the game and you go and find the final level, which has like 6 extra stars in it, that are basically like the Hall of Fame kind of levels. It's like okay, you completed the game, you're ready for a challenge, here's some really hard stars for you to work with. This particular star, the Volcano star, that we're going to be doing soon, is on par with those stars.
Very
Definitely.
smooth red coins there. Only like
well done, man.
Only one little trip up there. That was really good.
Good stuff.
There's 2 more stars in this level. I'm going to take the easier one of the 2 first. Sorry, 3 more stars before there's 2 more stars before the really hard one. I'm going to take this one, particularly the easier one first, just to rest my nerves a little bit here. So, as you can tell, we're at 58 stars. We're coming up on the end of the run, probably within the next 20 minutes or so, I want to say. That's ideally, but who knows? Things could go horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's the end game of this hack has, you know, it's basically like a really hard stage and then you kind of got a breather, and then a really hard stage and then you got a little bit of a breather. Like the you know, the next stage after this one's fairly easy, and then the one after is a little harder, and then another easy one. So it's not, you know, crazy the end of this run, but we've got a few things to go through for sure.
So real quick, something I just did there, part of the things you can do with the parallel cam, as mentioned before, is you can actually use the D-pad to slightly adjust your camera. Now, that triple jump that I did, I slightly adjusted the camera because the base camera is just unfortunately a little bit off from where I want it to be for that triple jump, and that triple jump is entirely for safety, so just want to make sure that's good and great and awesome, so I don't mess it up.
Yeah, that's something I mentioned earlier too, is that with parallel cam, because the camera is so statically kind of aimed at all times, there are certain walls where if you're jumping directly forward or jumping to the left, you're not actually going to be able to wall kick because the walls are just slightly off angle. And that's another thing, is that in modern Mario games, you can pretty much approach the ledge or the wall at pretty much any angle. Whereas in this game, you have to make sure you're facing somewhat towards it, or the wall kick will just not work. You'll just slide along the edge.
All right.
So, really scary stuff sometimes.
But here we go, though. This is the absolute hardest star in the route by far. So, here we
Buckle
go.
up. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times for this one.
So basically, you have to go through these set of platforms, but you have to do it while going through the lava. And as previously mentioned, the lava is incredibly fast.
Already missing some health too, so.
Yeah, it's really hard to get down there with no health missing.
Insane. No way, man. I was expecting to die at least once on that.
Well
my God.
done.
Well done.
You can see one of those last platforms, you barely make it up there. Even with speedrun strats. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a breather. Treacherous Treetopolis is a pretty simple stage. I think we said it was probably a good one for Donos.
I said Cozy Quarters, so not this one.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
So I'm starting off with like the easy star here. You have these red coins on red mushrooms. The only real danger here is the Shy Guys, but for the most part, they tend to be just like not in your way, you know. Don't worry about it. You don't need to really care. It's an easy enough star. But I've had times where I do a long jump and a Shy Guy just decides to dive in my way, and I'm dead. That's it. Over. Run over. Done. End of story. Oh. Alright.
It's a unique stage. There are big gaps for this. I feel like most of the stages, when you take a fall, you just fall down to the very bottom, the base of the stage. But this particular stage has a lot of massive abysses, which actually a lot of ROM hacks tend to have. So it makes this one unique compared to the other stages.
Definitely. This star in particular was one that I routed out for hours and hours because some of the movement here just doesn't feel right. Because you have to ledge grab a lot and things like that. But if you really kind of clean it up and get everything perfect, this star is actually really, really quick.
Alright. Do a ledge grab there for safety, and boom. So, one more star to go, and this one has, I think, it's movement I actually really like, because, like, you wouldn't think that long jumps would be good in that situation, but they actually end up being just, like, some of the best movement you can do for this next star, so let's see how it goes.
Not to jinx it, but this run's looking really good. There was one major mistake in Cursebound Chasm, the sand level, but this is very, very well done so far.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this run.
An excellent showcase so far.
Yeah, those long jumps just end up being some of the best movement you can do in that situation. Because they are just, like, perfectly spaced for those long jumps. So,
Yeah, I'm sure that was intended.
So coming up here is actually something we both, all three of us figured out, like, on a practice a couple days ago when we were just practicing the commentary for it. So there's this toad that we have to get to on the way to the next stage. But as it turns out, we've been doing the strat before, but as it turns out, you can just come to about here and do a triple jump dive, and you can just reach it no problem. So we've had various different setups for that, but that's just that's just the easiest way to do it by far now. So.
Yeah, it's funny because we literally just came up with this while doing some commentary the other day.
All right, so now we're moving on into cozy quarters, and you'll notice very quickly that it's a big house level, and these are really cool levels when you can use them properly. So this level, the desk that's over to my front now, this is actually modeled after the ROM hack creator's desk, but the rest of it is just sort of made out of just like anything he could think of, like what would be in a room here. So I'm gonna do. Oh. Guys, being a little rude, but oh, cool, got it second try. That's really good. Nice.
Yeah, that's one of the newer strats actually. Okami and I didn't even come up with that one. That was a newer one.
What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, so something you'll notice across this stage a lot is the amount of Rubik's Cubes in the stage. And there's this funny story. During, because Foxen was streaming the development of this hack very frequently. Oh, I fell down. And somebody came into his chat one day and was like, dude, there's no way. Nobody has this many Rubik's Cubes in my room. And then he started responding to the guy just like, nobody has this many cubes. And he just starts grabbing like 4 or 5 or 6 Rubik's Cubes off of his desk and just stacking them on top of each other in front of his webcam. And it was just the absolute funniest thing in the world. So big shout out to Foxen. The dude's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, there are a lot of stars just sitting on Rubik's Cubes in this level. It's great.
But,
it's kind of a good way to know where they are, actually.
Yeah, big time. But the rest of the next couple stars I'm doing aren't super interesting, so if you have any donations, now's a good time.
Alright, well, I just want to remind everybody that our next run coming up, Super Mario Galaxy 2, has the donation incentive for the perfect run. Right now, we're at $807.50 out of 1,000. So get those donations in if you want to see that.
Yeah, get those donations in, everybody.
Galaxy games are sick. I used to kind of, downplay Galaxy, but I've watched some speedruns and those are awesome. So definitely get those donations in, everybody.
All right. So something to note, we've mentioned a lot how this ROM hack is very puzzle-based. Sorry, not puzzle-based. It's very platforming-based, and there isn't exactly a whole lot of puzzles. But this next star that I'm going to be doing after this current one is a secret star. We haven't really seen these a whole lot in the run, but it's actually a super cool secret star because the name of it is something related to handles. So like, you grab a handle.
Can't handle the secret star.
Yeah, can't handle the secret star. And you'll notice, you'll find 4 drawers. You can pull the handles out in those drawers, but then you're looking for that 5th one. And what is this 5th handle? I don't know what it is. And I'll get to it here in just a second, but it blew my mind basically when I like just realized it for the first time.
I will say, as a Melee player and a Melee veteran, that this is one of the few secrets or secret puzzles in the game that didn't really throw me for a loop.
So yeah,
Kami got this one right away, and we took way too long.
Yeah, I remember being stuck on that for 20 minutes in my casual playthrough, but it's quite literally the handle on the GameCube model. It's incredibly clever.
Only boomers will understand.
I love it. It was a portable console before Switch existed.
True.
Alright, so one more star left in this stage, and we'll be heading into the final stage which is Celestial Citadel before the final boss stage. So this one has some pretty cool like platforming you can do with it. I haven't quite mastered like the truly optimal movement here, but the wall kicks and like the stuff you can do to move through here faster. You're schmoving all over the place when you master the star's movement, and it looks really fucking cool.
I love this star. The terrarium is such a cool, like, this is so neat. This is going so above and beyond like what you need to do for a ROM hack. Just, you know, where just random stars splayed out everywhere, like throwing in that kind of a little secret area is so neat.
All right, so here is the last star in the game. Sorry, not the last star, the last stage in the game, Celestial Citadel. Now, this has some really scary looking movement, but I can promise you it's not always that scary.
Yeah, this one in particular has a lot of variations. Like, you can do it pretty basically, or you can do some really, really insane platforming. Fluffy's doing some pretty scary stuff, honestly. Ooh. I'm surprised you don't find this harder.
I don't know, I found it pretty consistent. Just ignore the fact that my heart always palpitates whenever I do that strat.
It's not an easy stage. I would easily give this one like 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really fun one though to practice.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
one of the more fun ones to do for single star practice.
I would honestly say that I'm not sure like how sequentially Foxen made the stages, but I'd say like it feels like he got better making stages near the end of the game. Like some of these later stages are so cool, and you know, some of my less like BBB and you know, the Sunken Sandstrand and stuff like that aren't as much my favorites as like this one is so cool, and Cozy Quarters is great. Line Clear Frontier is obviously amazing too.
Yeah, big shout outs to Foxen again for creating this hack. Absolutely fantastic hack. All right.
So, once again, I do want to point out, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the intended star counts and if there's any confusion on the categories, we are going to be getting 75 stars to open up the final door, which has a 75-star door requirement, but the key counts as an extra star. So that's why this is a 76-star run.
Yeah,
so the intended star count to beat the game is 75, but 76 is what you actually have when you do beat the game.
Yeah, and that's also why the any percent category is called 1 star. It's because that one key does in fact count as a star, as has now been mentioned a few times, but you know, otherwise it would definitely be just 75 star, 121, and 0 star would be the category names otherwise.
Really?
All right, so
that's actually surprising. Gloomstream Grove is one of my favorites, actually. Really, really well built. So interesting.
All right, 1 more star to go, and then we're gonna head on into the final stage. And that being the final stage being King Boo 3. So it'll be the 2nd time we've seen King Boo in this run. Don't let the map fool you. We did in fact. Oh, interesting. Never had that happen before. All right.
Something else that's really unique as well about the final stage, which you'll see as soon as we get into it, but the theming of this game is 3 different castles, blue, green, and pink, and the final stage pays an homage to that in particular. So as we get into that stage, take a look for the theming of the stage and how it plays out.
Yeah, this, you know, the final Boo level is, you know, it lives up to the hype. It's a really, really tricky stage, and a lot of opportunities to just fall off and die. I've lost a lot of runs to it.
All right, so there we go. That is 75 stars. We are all done with the stages, and now we're going to head into the final stage. And ahead of time, I just want to say thank you very much, Power Up of Pride, the organizers and everything, for letting this run come through. I love this ROM hack. It is one of my favorites, and I really, really wanted to show it off to everyone around here because the speed run of this game is very fun, and there is a ton of beginner strats and advanced strats for you to progress through. Like, you start off with beginner stuff, you move to intermediate, and then you can get on to the harder stuff. So thank you very much for letting this run come through. I super appreciate it.
ROM hack runs are super unappreciated as well, and just ROM hacks in general, I feel like are super underappreciated. If anyone's interested in Mario 64, I 100% recommend you to go try out either this game or Star Road or AMA or any of the other really well-made hacks, because they're really, really great continuations to the experience that we all love in SM64. So thank you to Power Out with Pride for allowing us to showcase this niche part of our community.
All right, so that's the first King Boo hit here. Unfortunately, I got damaged by him, so I do have to take this at least a little bit carefully. Otherwise, because he deals 3 damage to me, and if I take another hit from him, I will die. I was a little bit off on that to triple jump yeesh. All right, it's fine. It's okay. We are here. All right, King Boo's in a good position, so I can just do this.
And once again, a big reminder for this is that the theming, take a look at the colors of these and the different kinds of castles, smaller mini castles that we're going to, and how it really looks like the overworld that we started out in.
Yeah, we went from the blue castle to the green castle, and we're finishing off the pink castle. Last bit of tricky movement coming up.
Oh, not quite. All right. Oh, it's not working. Interesting.
Almost.
Yeah, definitely
Okay.
tricky triple jump wall kick here. Like I said, wall kick's really, really tricky as well.
There we go. Got it.
There you go.
I figured out my mistake. All right. So time will be coming up here in just a moment. Time will end when the screen fully fades to black. I'll call it out as well. And that is the last hit on King Boo. And here we go. Time.
Let's go, Fluffy.
Well done.
Is that sub 110? I'm a little bit behind.
I don't quite know. I think it might have
I'm almost 100% sure that was sub 110. Good stuff.
Yeah, incredible run.
Super, super well done. That's like way below estimate.
Yeah, that is like almost like 9 minutes below estimate. I had the estimate high for 2 reasons. One, my PB at the time wasn't as good as it currently is. Like, that was only a minute and a half off of my... A minute and 15, actually, off of my PB. So that was a really good run. As well as, the run can be incredibly punishing as well. Like, so much of this run can go wrong so quickly. Like, the time in Permafrost Palace, the Cursebound Chasm wall kicks. So much can go wrong so quickly in this run. So I'm very happy to have shown that off and had very minimal mistakes overall. That was incredibly good. So
You played super cleanly.
So, real quick, I guess since we have time, whenever you finish it off, you'll see the overworld actually changes. It gets all brighter, the music gets happier. But the big thing absolutely is right here. You'll see this black cube ends up in the center here. So this is actually only post-game content, and basically there are like 5 or 6 stars here, which are all just supposed to be like super unique challenges, more or less. And they're supposed to push your knowledge of Mario 64 to the limit. Like, not as extreme as some other ROM hacks out there, but definitely just like, you're gonna have to know at least a little bit of Mario 64 to make this work.
I thought for a second you were going to say, not as extreme as the volcano star, but...
To be fair, I think some of these are genuinely easier than the volcano star, so...
I agree. I 100% agree.
Alright, I think this was like... Oh. Nice, 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 nice. Nice. Alright. So that's what I'm talking about, though. Like, that's just really cool. So, real quick, if you're interested in playing this game at all, on YouTube, you can search up Super Mario and the Cursed Castles Trailer 2. There should be a video by Foxen. You will find a download link to this ROM hack in the description of that video if you want to give this a shot. And if you do want to also speedrun the game, I definitely recommend checking out some of the runs on speedrun.com as well. Various degrees. You've got people like Celetics. You can check out his old world record with a lot of the early beginner strats. You can check out my current run for some of the more intermediate stuff, as well as like a mixed bag of beginner and intermediate strats. But if you really, really want to grind down and get those really hard stars, 100% I recommend just like going and watching one of Okame's runs or Sean's runs. These guys, like, I got a 108, 109 in this run, a 109.42. My PB is a 108. These guys both have sub 1 hour in this game. They're ridiculously good at it.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Of course, check out LordFluffy as well. Doing Titanfall and runs of this. Super sick stream as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. Just quickly, I will also tomorrow be doing Titanfall 2 any percent.
Yeah.
For this marathon. Thank you again, Power for Pride, for also having that too. But I don't really have anything else to shield, anything else to say. So thank you, Power for Pride, for letting this run happen. Thank you all so much for watching. Oh, wow, there's a whole lot of you. 2,500. Thank you all so much. Guys, we have the perfect run incentive coming up for Super Mario Galaxy 2. Please get your donations in for that. We can absolutely want to see that. It is such a fun thing to watch somebody go through that. Anyway, I am done. Thank you all.